Seeing as we have a quorum and we have reached the wonderful time of 6:04, go ahead and get started. Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, prior to the meeting, I've been informed that Mr. Braun, who's coaching our summer basketball team, is a volunteer, will not be present. Mr. Koopman, Mr. Itinarelli, and are also not able to be here. And Mr. Henry is struggling with pneumonia, and he won't be here. So we wish him the very best. Mr. Braza has indicated that he was able to arrive, but he'll have to leave for 7 to attend another obligation in Milford. Also, I'd like to make all committee members the placemats that are printed are available. Where?
Right over there.
And we would ask for your help to help in the distribution.
I've met my obligation to call.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're calling for a moment of silence. As most are aware, it was a tough year, lots of things were accomplished, so we did lose some key members of the Valley Tech family. But I ask for a moment of silence on behalf of Derek Yancic, former HVAC instructor, highly regarded football coach, for John LeBrun, former assistant superintendent principal for many years, for Michael Masterson, key member of our custodial staff, also an individual who played the tuba, and so he was kind of the first musicians that Valley Tech had. So a moment of silence for those 3 staff members. I believe we're allowed to recognize the last of our students. Now let's do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right, and moving on into our agenda. First item up, Secretary's report. Mr. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the regular school committee meeting minutes of May 17, 2018, and I make a motion that we accept and approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. We'll give that one to Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you.
Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The minutes from May 17th are approved.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve and release the executive meeting minutes of January 19, 2012, March 8, 2012, and May 19, 2016.
Motion made and second.
Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I trust you recognize, consistent with regulations, we periodically ask the school committee to examine non-released executive minutes to see whether or not their release would not have a negative impact, and that we continue to be transparent with our public. From my observation, the 3 minutes, archived minutes, meet that standard and therefore can be released.
Any other questions, comments, discussion?
Let me also point out, if I may, the additional minutes were submitted for my review. I did not feel comfortable to advance them to you, so I held them from the get-go. But at any time, the committee members wish to see additional minutes, and then I could comment on in the future. I'm glad to do it either way.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of declassifying the executive session minutes of January 19, 2012, March 8, 2012, and May 19, 2016, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Abstain.
And an abstention from Mr. Raza. The motion carries, and those minutes are hereby declassified. Thank you very much. Next item up, the treasurer's report.
Yes, in your packets this evening, you have the treasurer's report as of May 31st, 2018. The balance at the end of the month was $6,448,416.80, and that was broken into local funds of $5,648,443.87, and project funds of $799,972.93. During the month of May, as you know, the member assessments are due on the 1st of May, and the last few communities had their member assessment payments received during that month. And all members are paid to date. And also, please note that we still are continuing to see strong receipts in the grant area and in the student activity area. Under disbursements, we had 3 payroll disbursements and some pretty significant accounts payable warrants. So our expenses exceeded our revenues for the month, and that's the reason for the decrease in our total cash month to month. I wanted to bring your attention to the CARS OPEB. That now has a balance of $14,000. So during this school year, we were able to contribute $14,000 as a result of the contract and the school district's contribution in there.
Any questions from Ms. Tosh? Gary?
Any idea what total amount you have in the OPEB?
The total liability that's outstanding, I do not know that number, but Kurt may.
I probably think it's around 23 million. And then there's, as you know, there is a net OPEB obligation. That's the grand total, and there's the amount that we're expected to contribute on behalf of the district. So depending on what number is being reflected in the financial statements, but it's hard to say, but I think it's around $23 million.
How much money do we have in that account now?
In the OPEB,
Yeah.
it's the
It's the
That's the total?
14,000, right.
That's the total?
But what's a little misleading is that we are on a pay-as-you-go basis. So we are making payments towards our net contribution, but they're going to our actual expenses. So it's really that plus the 14,000. So if you look at the budget report that Kurt just distributed, you'll see through May what we've actually paid out in health insurance costs, and that is part of the contribution, the minimum contribution that Kurt was referring to. So it's not that we're not making payments, it's just that it's difficult to find, extra monies to put into this at this point.
We are due for our 2-year evaluation this year. I'm gathering the information for that now, so it's been that length of time since we've had one that covered us for a 2-year period. And then moving forward with the new regulations, we're going to have a mid-year because of the interest rate acknowledgement that is required on a year-over-year basis. So the costs are going to be going up slightly for that mid-year, if you will, valuation. So.
And just as another aside, the OPEB account, that's what I was going to tell you. I'm sorry.
Is it conceivable your comment on the newer approaches reducing the current increases at the same pace?
Well, no, what I was going to say is what a lot of towns and other districts are doing is, as their pension becomes fully funded, they're looking to possibly shift some portion of what they're paying towards their retirement funding into the OPEB funding as a source of funding this in the future. So that's what I was trying to remember, and I just lost it when I was thinking of other things that were being discussed. But that's what a lot of communities are doing to make a dent in this.
Last question if I may, Mr. Chairman. What's the time sweep on this? I mean, is the state saying you gotta pay me back between now and next time God comes, or is it open-ended? What is it?
At this point, there are no time requirements.
None.
I think that the state is focusing mostly on getting everybody to fund 100% of their pensions, which they just increased the years in which that could be funded. And I don't know what schedule we're on with the state and when we're expected to be fully funded, but I think they increased it to 2038.
Yeah, because originally it was a 30-year funding schedule.
It was a 30-year
and the
funding
crash
schedule.
and then the fact that so much was lost in investments, they have extended it out.
Right.
For the state.
2038?
For the
38,
state, we're still not even getting, I mean, we are routinely getting our bills now, but they haven't met as that working group to determine how they're going to bill the communities that had not been subject to those annual contributions.
So, we have time. It's the bottom line.
We have time.
We have time.
Well, the
But we're
beginning.
working on it. We're working on it, but we have time.
Mr. Hall?
Roger.
I think it would be very helpful if we knew what the per capita, per student. It's hard to say what I'm trying to tell you or ask you for a question. I know you probably can't come up with it. But the debt that we owe per town, I'm from Blackstone, so I have X amount of debt here. And so does in all the other towns that are represented. You know, when you're saying it's 23 million, and it's like, but are we less or more than the regular students in any one of them towns? I know it's a hard question of,
So it's gonna vary community to community, district to district.
I know,
With
and I realize
plan
that.
design and the contribution rates that the different entities are paying. And that's really what's looked at when they calculate the overall, OPEB liability. So it's hard to make that comparison because you wouldn't be comparing apples to apples because everybody's contribution rates, everybody's plan designs are different.
One thing that can be said, though, back to your point, is because we are pay-as-you-go, those are assessed annually at your current ratio in terms of your student to the total students here at BVT. And so then over time, you are paying your pro rata share.
Right.
And, again, it's a paper entry until they actually retire, and go into a payout. You're not really sure that that's going to become a liability. Because people can drop out of the system due to that, people coming in and exiting. They might not ever take it. So at a point in time, you might have that in your valuation. If they were to leave, somebody else might take their place, but they might not ever retire with us. So until they do, it doesn't become that actual liability.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Oh, yeah, it's all right.
Since I recall, that's one of those finance, one of the Blackstone finance committee a couple of years ago.
That's correct. Yep.
I don't believe we have a motion on the floor for the treasurer's
I'll make
report.
a motion.
Second?
Motion made and second to accept the treasurer's report. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
So I noticed I didn't have a copy of the motion to,
Right to borrow?
the treasurer's rate to borrow.
I don't see it. That's a different one. But I know we have to do it. Okay,
It's
so
11.3.
okay, I don't see one.
Somebody's got one.
Okay, I don't see one, which is unusual.
I don't see it.
I don't know what we have.
So the motion would be to allow the treasurer to borrow from time to time in anticipation of revenue. So if we were to have a revenue shortfall, and as a district, since I've been at the district in 1999, there has never been a time where we've had to do this and borrow in advance of revenues. But it's a nice safeguard to have in place in the event that we do come to a situation where we may need to borrow in advance of receipts.
And it must be done annually. 'Cause
And
we
it
have-
must be voted annually.
We do it every, because we do it every year, we do take care of this vote every year in the last meeting of our fiscal year,
That's right.
getting in anticipation of the next fiscal
I'll
year.
make the motion to, our, Oja, to do that.
Motion made
Second.
and second to allow the treasurer's right to borrow from time to time as necessary in advance of revenues.
wish to speak in favor of the motion, particularly since there is no state-approved budget at this time.
Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, student representatives, Jake and Logan.
Hello, my name is Jacob Stevens, and I am the NISC Excellence Chair. And I'm Logan Keith. I am the Student Council Vice President, and will be representing Student Council this year. First, we had our class elections this week. Yesterday were our speeches, and today we had our elections. And also, last Friday we had our handball tournament for the Yancey Fund. We raised $800. Also, coming up on July 8th, we have the MASC Summer Conference. And we have 15 students attending, 3 alumni, and 2 teachers on staff. We also, on Friday, we will be having a speaker come, and his name is Kevin Wainzer. And we also saw him before at a student council conference at Hyannis in March. So, yeah, that's all we have for you today, guys. Any questions?
Questions, comments, discussion?
On behalf of Mr. Steele, the leadership team, and myself, thanks for a great year. Clearly, the speeches were very impressive to anyone, even observers and visitors to the school, who watched the way in which students presented themselves as leadership aspirations. And it was another phenomenal year, and we look forward to next year. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much. Next item on the agenda, the PAC annual report. Ms. Arduino.
So my name is Rosemary Arduino. I'm a parent of a junior student here. The Parent Advisory Council has been tasked with advising our district on matters that pertain to the education and safety of our students participating in the planning, development, and evaluation of our district's special ed programs. To this, we have worked with Kristen Martell, Special Ed Team Chair, parents, and Yvette Weitzel, Director of Student Services. This past year, or almost past year, coming to an academic close, September of 2017, we had a PAC meet and greet during curriculum night for grades 9 and 11, and then a separate one for grades 10 and 12. In August of 2017, we participated in the freshman picnic, which allows opportunity for us to maybe network a little bit and increase and promote the PAC to incoming families and students. October 18th of 2017, we had a special education rights presentation by Kristen Martell, BVT special ed teacher and PAC parent. April 11th of 2018 was a transition planning fair that was hosted by Marlboro High School. And in June of this year, we meet to plan for our next year. The Parent Advisory Council will continue to strive to improve parent communication and participation via its website, email distribution, and with information of upcoming events and meetings. On a personal note, I'm very grateful for the opportunity that has allowed my son to attend BVT. I can't even begin to express how the environment of passionate educators who truly care about their students has influenced him. As a parent of a young man who had a lot of educational needs when he arrived at Valley Tech, to be successful enough in his junior year to start to transition off of his ed plan is more than a testament to the special ed department and the school. He and I both have bonds in the education department that have been instrumental in this process. Thank you.
I want to thank the chair. She's worked really hard these last few years in PAC and has graciously offered to continue next year. So thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Dr.
Rosemary, I just want to add, again, on behalf of Mr. Steele, leadership team, and myself, our heartfelt thanks to you. Our public oftentimes doesn't comprehend fully that when we address the needs of students and move them into less needy situations, that we celebrate that.
I mean, this, to me, that's a gift from, like, I can't even begin, as a parent, I can't even describe that. Because where he came from, when he came in 8th grade, because I didn't think he was gonna come here, is just a testament to the school, because I don't think the outcome would have been the same elsewhere.
Well, you're a believer and a person who's invested in us, committed to us, trusted us, and fortunately with people like Yvette and the staff that we have, we're able to deliver. My concern is the public oftentimes doesn't recognize that when we move students, like your son, to a new level of freedom and success, that it's not as if we didn't accept a special needs student to begin with, okay? And that they base it purely on student special ed IEP counts, right? And our whole goal is to move people off that count.
I mean, there's an enormous misperception about that, and actually, as a parent, it's way more work for me now that he's off of that, because I have to look at every little thing. I mean, I did before, because that's who I am.
Right.
But there's an enormous misperception about that.
Well, thank you for working with us, and we're going to continue to do the right thing by your son and by others, and hopefully have the public have a greater recognition. This is the right way to do business. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Jitz.
I have one question. Has there been maybe a top challenge that the PAC has been working with the school on, or is it more just a broadband support for multiple different areas? Is there any one focus of the PAC, or is it many things that you've been working
I think it's many things.
on? Okay.
What, as a parent, what I seem to struggle at being at the meetings, there's not a lot of involvement from a lot of other parents, and I don't know, I'm not sure why that is.
Just trying to get more people to be
Right,
active.
and the meet and greets and the beginning of the school year are like great, and people will come up, and I know everybody's life is busy.
Mhm.
I don't know, honestly, sometimes I don't think that parents realize like the beauty of the website and what you can get out of that website.
So it's just getting more involvement, more resources from the parents to help with changes and improve.
I think the challenge is the, of being a high school, so PACs at an elementary level are full,
Yeah.
or more full. And then coming from 13 different towns, I think that's also difficult. They're traveling farther. A lot of parents that I talk to say that they're happy with the services that their kids are getting, and so they no longer have to come and advocate for what those kids need. So I hope that's a good sign, but we certainly have had, nice committed parents that are involved as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Next item on the agenda, graduate placement status report. Yvette.
Okay, so I have 2 handouts for you. I know you like to go green, but it's hard to communicate this information. So the first one is a comparison of our graduate survey 2018, 17, and 16, so we can kind of look at where our kids are going. The second report, I tried a little bit different this year, is to show you our students that are following related pathways to their field, where they're going. So I tried to do something a little bit different. Hopefully that's helpful.
As I'm waiting for this does this include, like, for those that have declared majors and things like that during college?
Yes, so kids that either, as we polled them when they were leaving, we were not only asking, what are you studying in your field? And I have a report that really can break that down kid by kid if you need that, or student by student. But also, are you going to college for a related field to then work in that field? So plumbers going to college because they wanted to run a plumbing business, so we tried to capture that in that second graph that I'll share with you. So the first one I'd like to just go over is the stapled version. So this is 2018 graduate information. You can see that 80% of them, 80.41%, were going right into a 4-year college. 6.08 were going to a 2-year college. And then there's the apprentice program piece, that was 5.74. The right to employment, 6.42, and then military, 1.35. If you go to 2017, you can see that less kids were going to a 4-year college, but I look at that and see that more were going to the 2-year college. So I think those numbers kind of are less dissimilar than they look. And then 2016, again, more were going to the two-year college at that point. So the four-year college was a little bit lower there. Any questions about these?
Well, I mean, does this capture students that may be working and going to college at night, and how would it capture those?
That's an excellent question. I think that we were asking more what they were doing full-time, but that's an excellent point that some of our kids may be working full-time and then, you know, going to school. I know a lot of the like construction trade companies are paying for that, so that's an interesting point that probably is not captured in here.
Yeah, 'cause that is something I've heard in the past, that they'll go into full-time employment, but that the business is gonna pay for them to go get advanced degrees.
Mhm.
You know, so, I mean, while it's, you know, it's wonderful that they're actually able to accomplish both, but it also helps that now the student is not incurring the student loan debt that goes with that.
Excellent points. Sarah and Tom, you agree with that?
Yes.
Any questions about that 18, 17, 16 piece?
Just one quick thing, any rationale why, I mean, you went up 10%, and I know that the numbers change, but you went up 10% on the four-year college? Any like data points that say, oh, that's because of?
So I asked the counselors that information. Some of it has, I don't know, I think a couple of years ago, the two-year college route was really made sense to kids financially, and I don't know if it's more they're getting more money to four-year colleges at this point. I'm not really sure why that is, but they've
Be
been.
interesting to see, that's a pretty dramatic move.
Yes.
And potentially, are they
moving up.
pockets where the instructors may be trying to, you know, encourage them to move up to a four-year school, or to at least attempt to go to a four-year school?
Mhm.
There's a pretty dramatic increase, from 63.7 to 80.41, it's a
Right,
pretty
over 3
big
years.
change. A lot of more students have decided to go a four-year path. I was just curious as to why.
Mm.
I almost wonder that too. This is the first graduating class for our engineering, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know that we took that into consideration with this
Yeah.
number. And
Okay.
Good point.
that's pretty much a whole entire class that's going on.
Yeah, this is all brand new data
Good
this
point.
year for those engineers.
So we are adding those students in addition
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
that could be part of what's
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how many kids graduated?
in that class. 14? 14 this year? Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the numerical shift in the gap, and that's,
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was gonna say, when I
okay.
was going through the scholarship data, we had a ton of kids going to four-year tech schools, like WPI and stuff, so that could be swaying that number a little bit as well.
Mm.
I mean, do you have the ability to pull, I mean, you said you had the student level, so you can tell which shops may have seen shifts and adjustments. Because while it's not only which instructors, but it's like what programs might be warranting. Because I always go back to the electrical and going on to electrical engineering or something like that's a natural progression.
Right.
And our doors are opening
Mhm.
differently for different.
Yeah, I'd be happy to pass this around. This is the detail of where they're going. The green is that they were staying directly in the trade. So you can see as you flip to, say, engineering or health services, you know, they're heavily going to schools for that. So I can pass that around if you want to look at that in a little bit more detail.
Thank you.
And then the last graph are students that are following a related pathway, and you can see 74% of them were going to a four-year college, 5.48 were going to the two-year, and then 19% were going into apprenticeships or employment.
Doc, you had a,
Well, I believe when you hear Anthony's report, you'll discover additional resources that are supporting, and that may well contribute to this plan. I don't want to steal his thunder before it's his turn to share.
And I think the other uncaptured number are kids that are going to four-year colleges, and to your point, that we're using their trades to fund. You know, my own son was in the IT program, is studying creative writing at Emerson, but has funded his whole, you know, living at college, working in the IT program at Emerson. So, you know, those numbers are probably not as easily captured.
yeah, I was just saying, IT is a program I tend to forget about, even though that's where I started college. it's, you know, it's a natural progression. There are additional programs that make perfect sense. It, you know, doesn't mean they're any less ready for the workforce. It's just that they chose to take that trade to the next level.
Right. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice job, Yvette.
Mr. Bellin, Ms. Hathaway.
So well.
We should get you some step-up music or something. We should, just kind of.
Space Odyssey 2000.
Rules out for summer.
Jaws. That's a good one.
Okay, it's warming up nicely.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was almost still being washed out.
So it's always great to be here and present on behalf of the vocational departments. A lot of exciting things going on. Sarah and I can't wait for this every year and tell you about what's happening in our shops. So we have our program updates, and we'll talk about some great district projects that we've done in the Valley. Sarah has a co-op update. We also have Peter Weiner here from our General Advisory Committee to tell you about some updates there as well.
Chairman.
Is that a chairman? Yeah, sure. So we have some new safety endeavors this year that we've gone through. We're also doing a lot more teacher-led OSHA this year. We have non-traditional training that Sarah's going to talk about. And we're doing some major upgrades in our manufacturing shop coming up soon. So these are all new programs we started this year. It's all about fall protection. And we had some experts come in from outside. We were through OSHA training from myself and several of our staff. Falls are the leading cause of death and major injuries in young workers. So we really wanted to go after that and make sure everyone in our construction department had hands-on OSHA training and teacher-led OSHA training, as well as we had a seminar that the juniors and teachers led, and this was for freshmen. We see them trying out some lanyards over here, but there were 5 stations that the shops ran for our seminar. We had Werner Ladder come in, and they did a demonstration on new products and how to select the right products out there, especially harnesses, lanyards. There's different sizes, styles, heights, and to what to select. Because if you're going to be out in the field, you want to know what the right equipment is and what not to select as well. We also have some folks, they're from Consigli Construction and kind of AGC out of Wellesley. These folks came in and talked to the students about safety, but also the construction industry in general. So a lot of outside folks came in, a lot of new training, a lot of things we're trying and stick with for the future. Again, all about accident prevention in the workplace. So we've been doing a teacher-led OSHA training for our construction cluster and other shops over the years. So if you go back to 2015, we had all online training, and which is basically you sit in front of a computer for 10 to 12 hours and go through the modules, and it will certify you. However, we just didn't feel that was good enough for our students, so we several of our teachers got involved. We had 2 teachers for the last 2 years and several more certified. Now we have teacher-led training, which is very much interactive and hands-on, much better quality product, and the students get a lot more out of it. So we're moving to, at some point, to get that number even higher, up to 70–80%. We have trades like business tech, for instance, where they're not out in the field, they're not around hazardous equipment. The online training is probably fine, but most other shops, teacher-led, hands-on training is the best. So we're heading in that direction. It's also, when you do classroom training, teacher-led training, it's $8 per certificate. If it's online, it's $25. So there's a savings there that'll add up as well over the years. The new standard is OSHA 30. For the past, it's always just been the OSHA 10 card that would get you on a job site. And in a few years, if you don't have an OSHA 30 card, that'll be the new standard. So that's the way the industry's heading. And for next year, our construction tech department will have the OSHA 30 card for the first time ever. So it's going to be a year-long process, culminating in an OSHA 30 card at the end of the year. BVT Motorsports Club, I know it's not a shop, but we had about, I think, all 18 shops at one point involved in the process. We stepped it up this year. Last year was our first endeavor in this, and we went to the racetrack. We had a car that was donated to us. We fixed it up and raced it. Kind of anticlimactic. It was a rather slow vehicle, but it was still a fun time
the kids were exposed to racing for the first time. This year, we took an S10 that was an electric vehicle donated to us back in the early 90s. And we put batteries in it. We were using it when we were going through the renewable energy training and things like that for folks when energy prices were high. But we had the chassis sitting around. We decided to make a dragster out of it. So the students worked on it all winter. This is it torn apart, took the body off, all the panels, rebuilt it, put a roll cage inside of it, new engine, connected to a heavy-duty transmission, rear end, new wheels and tires, and countless hours went into this vehicle from the staff and students. But again, a good product, and we ended up going to the racetrack, and we had, I don't know if we have any audio here, but I think you can just tell by there's the truck there, the finished product and the trailer, but we had it racing against the vehicle in the back, which was another donated vehicle, which had a 300 horsepower engine in it. And you'll see when they take off, the difference between a true dragster built from the ground up and a stock car that has 300 horsepower. It's a Chevy Camaro, I believe, in the background. So you'll see the difference when they take off, just how much of a difference there is between a real race car and something you can buy off a dealership. Starting in seconds. So pretty impressive, isn't it? Anyone want to guess on the 0 to 60 time? And again, anything under 13 seconds is pretty good. Joe?
12.2.
12.2. Anyone else?
10.5.
10.5. Pretty close. 10.86 seconds. So again, for the first time out, we didn't really have time to fine tune it. I'm sure we'll do better, but again, fantastic job by all that were involved.
On the other hand, if you're looking for lottery tickets, check with Joe.
Who's the driver for that?
Oh, by the way, who drove it? Mr. Steele is in the pickup truck, and Mr. Moore, former vocational coordinator, is in the white Camaro. So, one little tidbit,
I'll let Ted win.
Ted wanted me to announce this in the morning announcements, but I just couldn't get myself to do it. His reaction time off the line was actually quicker than Mr. Steele. So he wanted to get that out there.
Oh, Mr. Steele was just giving him a head start.
He gave a head start.
He needed it. Ted's view.
How come he was late for work?
So manufacturing technology, I don't know if the word has been spread about the grant or not, but we are.
It's Curtis's presentation.
Okay, I didn't want to, but I did talk to him, so he gave me the numbers.
Yep.
Kurt, do you want to tell them about the grant?
Or are you going to hold that for a little bit later?
No, go right ahead. I'll go over my piece of it when I get up.
Sure.
You take the glory.
So what we've needed in that shop, obviously we've been doing a lot of work in there, a lot of new machinery, but we have 5 machines here that are, believe it or not, they're only 5 or 6 years old, but they're already out of date. The technology has changed so much in the way you program them, the safety controls, and how the students can operate them. They can operate the new machines we're getting manually or conversationally. Also, the floor in there has been beat up over the years from people dropping heavy equipment and big pieces of metal. It's almost unsafe in some areas, unlevel, pitted floor, so we're looking to redo the floor, get new machines, and refurbish the shop. So this summer, we're taking all the equipment out, moving it to auto tech, redoing the floor, the walls, and anything else we can do while the machinery is out of there. Move it all back in and have it all hooked up for next August when the students come back. So it's a big undertaking. Curtis has worked countless hours on this, as has Mr. Brochu, to get the vendors online, because it all has to be done like clockwork or it just won't work. We want to have equipment running when the kids come back in August. So again, it's great for us, great for that program. Modern machine shops all have an epoxy type floor with a grid on it to keep it from slipping. And again, all of our machining will be now be up to current standards when we get these 5 additional machines.
All within budget.
All within budget. And again, this was originated at the advisory committee. It's a recommendation that happened a few years ago.
Next, I'm excited to talk about the non-traditional opportunities that have been presented and awarded to us over the course of the year. Up here, you'll see 4 students, a junior from plumbing, a freshman from HVAC, a junior from P&D, and a sophomore from IT. These 4 students came to us to be leaders in our non-traditional club that we have here at BVT. And they really want to ensure that students coming into BVT as well are being supported and encouraged to explore non-traditional trades and get the support from their parents, most importantly. We found from talking to these students as well as additional students that one of the major hurdles with a student choosing a non-traditional program is the hurdle is their parents, getting their parents to buy in that it's okay for me to be a plumber, mom and dad, or it's okay for me to be in cosmetology if I'm a male. So it's really getting the parent buy-in. And these 4 students have attended a Women in Trades conference, which is a leadership group that most schools, vocational schools across the state are partaking in. These 4 students are leaders that are representing BVT on this particular committee. We are extremely proud of these 4 students because they stepped up to be part of this committee, and they attended a conference back in February, and were inspired by the other schools presenting their presentations about how they were doing recruitment to increase the student enrollment in non-traditional programs, and really, accenting and marketing non-traditional career paths and opportunities available to these students. So these 4 students were so inspired in February that they committed to do a presentation and present to over 500 students and teachers coming through a non-traditional conference. They were so inspired to have a presentation themselves to represent BVT that within a short month they put together a planning board about what they were going to do in the upcoming year to increase student enrollment and involvement in non-traditional trades. So you'll see down here, this is them at the conference where they're actually presenting their planning board. We had over 500 students coming through from all schools across the state. They presented what their ideas were. Business industry was present. At that seminar, at that conference where they presented, they also got to sit in and experience different conferences and lectures from different individuals that were non-traditional brick masonry and women in trades, for example. It was held at the IBEW Electrical Union in Dorchester, so they got a chance to see that hall, which is really cool. And there's a lot of women that were there and men talking about being non-traditional careers, particularly women at this conference, but talking about opportunities that were available to them and how they're able to support themselves and pay for their way through college to get further on their education if needed. Right here is Savannah Reed. She is a graduate, just graduated this year. She was nominated from BVT as our MBA Non-Traditional Student of the Year. Here she is, she won for the entire state. So the Non-Traditional Student of the Year is from BVT. She is on co-op at Waters Corporation, and she's featured here with her mother and father and Governor Baker. So she was excited that she got to sit. Governor Baker actually sat with the students. He didn't want to sit with any of the school committee members, any of the superintendents or any of the other guests at this conference. He wanted to sit with the students, which is really cool. So Savannah was honored enough to sit literally next to him. He's talking about manufacturing, they're going back and forth, and she had a great time. So she was excited to have her picture taken down. So we figured we'd share that with you. So we're doing a lot with non-traditional opportunities for our students over the next year, and we did a lot this year, so we're looking forward to the growth. As you can see here, we've had a growth over the years from class of 2018. We have raised our bar every year for getting more and more students involved in non-traditional careers. So the word's gotten out there. We're doing a great job of marketing non-traditional opportunities by including salary wages, salary opportunities, and different employment opportunities with companies that are clearly looking for capable workers and also non-traditional workers. So you can see the number has drastically increased. We have 97 students in our freshman class that are non-trad, and you can see back in our graduation we only had 81. So you can see how drastically we're planning. So we're excited to see what next year brings. The next slide, Tom. Here you can see a breakdown. Not only, we talked a lot about highlighting on females in non-traditional programs. Please note we have an F next to the shops that are more, which are non-traditional for females, but you also see the non-traditional for males. We're excited to say that for the first time, we have a strong number of students that are in non-traditional for males shops. We've had a large number. For example, in cosmetology right now, for the first time in a long time, we now have 2 students. So that's exciting. In dental, we have 4. In health services, we have 8. And business tech is also high. So we're doing well. So we're excited about that, and can we show the numbers next year?
So we're going to transition to district projects. We have This is actually the Bellingham Library. Got a lot of good projects around the valley. Painting and design, it's hard to say which particular town. They service probably every town in the valley this year. Usually the work comes to us, we work on it, we send it out. It could be a vehicle wrap, it could be a sign like the United Methodist Church, where we actually took the original frame, took everything out of it, put a new sign inside of it, made it look traditional and blended in new technologies, new materials, paints, things like that, and reinstalled it. Over here is our football sign, football scoreboard sign. It has our school on it, as well as the beaver head that goes on top. But Auto Tech and Metal Fab had a big role in that as well, to make the sign and make it smooth, make it presentable. But painting and design was involved with the design of it, the fonts and everything else that goes with it as well. So again, heavily involved with the scoreboard sign. And here's something new they're doing, which is window frosting. And they were trying it out at our own principal's conference room. Again, something that they can print on any medium now. You put it through one of their printers, they'll cut it, carve it, put ink on it, whatever you want it to come out as. It could be, again, put it on a vehicle, put it on windows. We needed some privacy in our principal's conference room. We didn't want to have the shades pulled all the time, so they went and put frosting on the windows, and it works fabulously. So again, just another thing they can do, another talent, another skill set that they develop as they go through that. Our construction building, as we reported on back in December, needed power, so we've been running the extension cords out of the MRS shed. So the electrical department kicked in, they ran a new service from the MRS building out here to a power panel and distribution panel, and they put outlets out there as well as wired up heaters and a few other fixtures and lighting inside the construction building. So now they can, if it's a little dark out because it's cloudy, they can go out there and work. And again, it's all GFCI protected for the workers that are out there. So another good project by the electrical department. The Upton rescue truck that they brought in last year, I showed you some original pictures back in December. We actually had to get a donor vehicle or another vehicle to put it all together. So we took two vehicles apart and put one together. Used all used parts, but they had to grind things away. They took it right down to the chassis, tore apart every bit of the truck, put it all back together again. Now Upton has a shiny new vehicle. They're very, very happy to have it. Should stay small for many years to come. But again, this is the vehicle they were getting ready to retire, but they brought it to us and we were able to help them out and save them a significant amount of money in comparison to a new vehicle. This is the Blackstone Valley Chamber of Commerce building. They are putting in a manufacturing training center over there, so they wanted to split up a large room into smaller rooms, so we went out, put some partitions up. Notice the old construction. This is the bottom floor of an old factory. So we have some post and beam structures, but we had to add a furred out wall to that. So trying to match that in wasn't easy. We worked closely with an architect on it, exactly what the doors would look like and the finished wall, things like that. So it was a good learning experience and kind of historical as well, to get this wall in and make it fit the building, not just throw a wall up anyway in any fashion. So again, good learning opportunity for us. Back at the Bellingham Library, they needed some siding done to match the existing siding, so we helped them purchase it, and they installed that about a month ago. So just to sum it up, we had 390 requests and nearly 400 requests for projects. Out of those 390, we accepted 374 of them. We saved nearly $300,000 for the district towns and nearly 20 for folks outside of the district. And on-campus work projects, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, vehicle repairs, almost $190,000 for almost $500,000 worth of savings to the district. So it's pretty good for our shops there. If you want to break it down by town, you want to take a look at our town up there. Big numbers from several of them. Millville is, we still had a couple bills left over from last year for the town hall, but again, we had some on some of it on last year's report, some of it on this year's as well.
Hey, Tom, can you back up one screen?
Sure.
The 184,759. So that's basically money that BVT would have had to incur a cost on for various projects.
Correct.
That we were able to do in-house without having to take on an additional expense.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Next is co-op. Our cooperative education program this year has been successful in comparison to the other years. We had 79 students, seniors, on co-op or on internship this year. And currently, we have 14 juniors that are going on summer co-op. And they will have a rush of them when they come back as seniors that will be going out as well. So those numbers are steady, and that's what they've been the past several years. So we're trending the same, which is nice. And here you can see a breakdown of how it is by industry. Please note the key at the bottom to indicate which area are, what shops fall into which areas. You can see the construction industry is still going strong and constantly looking for employees. One thing to note is the manufacturing department is really, truly manufacturing technology, so it's welding and machining. So this is a lower number because it's only one shop, and it's also a lower number because the senior class that just graduated, for some reason, a lot of them didn't have the license or have the desire to truly go out and get a job in the industry. You will see a huge number next year of students in manufacturing technology that are going on co-op. So the juniors right now, which will be seniors next year, most of them are already on co-op, which is really cool to see. So we expect that number will be more than just 2 students in manufacturing technology for next year, because we already have 2 students already on co-op for juniors and more coming. So that's good stuff.
Okay. Good evening. Next slide. Just general private. So we had, I think, a pretty good meeting, pretty good turnout in the fall. 475 members, so 305 attended. Pretty soon we'll be going down the halls with tables, I think, because I know we're always up the ante one there. But yeah, so really good turnout. We had a pretty good year. We had a good representation. We blocked these tables in and we filled them up just about every meeting. I think Joe can attest to that too, right? Yep. Some of the things that we go over, I'll just give you some of the highlights that came up. The last meeting we had was good because it was right after the spring meeting. So we had kind of a little round table, see what's going on, because we touched on all of these subjects during the year. One of the, reviewing the new technology that's happened. I know my shop was very grateful because I'm manufacturing, that's where I represent, and the machine shop and the welding, they're very appreciative of all the monies, especially that the grants and stuff that have been coming in. We put in a huge budget or request, and we know it's impossible because we suck up all of the chapter money that's available. But you guys have really done a bang-up job getting grants in. And it really has come a long way. I mean, I come to the Skills USA and I judge the CNC people, and everybody was commenting, what a change the shop is, and even people from the industry coming from Boston were commenting, what a nice job. So kudos to all of you guys that have done that, guys and gals. One thing that came up, I'll bring up now, is actually talking to Tom. I know we save money by doing stuff in-house. So I think Tom's going to volunteer to do the IT air conditioner. IT department, and yeah, his spare time and stuff. So he's not taking a summer off, Doc. He'll be here. There were a few little things that
That's reassuring.
A few little things came up in our last meeting where there's a few more building-related items that need to get addressed. And I know Tom's on it. He already had a schedule. And I do think he volunteered to come in and fix it. So.
Whatever it takes.
Employability requirements. I'm involved a lot with Central Mass. I work at Norton and St. Gobain, so I'm involved with mostly machine shops and things like that, and employability type stuff. So, at least from the manufacturing standpoint, and as Cyrus said, there's a huge demand out there. Last year, there were only 2 kids in class that wanted to come out to actually work. Part of that is if they're coming in, I guess, in Cadillacs and BMWs, they probably don't have to work, but that's okay. So that might be a jump in the college level. But this year, it seems like there's a few. I actually got in one person out from over. That's a great kid. So the demand is out there across the manufacturing complex, and it's not just high-tech jobs. We're trying to get to everybody that it's not just high-tech. We need people that can work with their hands too. So we've tried to do that at the state level as well. The state seems to be fixated on advanced manufacturing only. We're trying to tell them you still need guys that can get their hands dirty, because you can make a ton of money doing that. Admissions came up as well. Just back to employability. The trade groups, I know electrical, I believe it was electrical, said they upped their hours now for licenses and all that. So that's got a little bit of concern amongst the group that, you know, kids may be put off to go into that trade, say electrical, because it's going to take you so much time to get your license. I was actually just at my house talking to two graduates from here. One of them's an electrician. And he said the same thing. You know, it keeps adding time to the time when you're going to be a licensed electrician. So I don't think plumbing hasn't had it affected yet. But
Some new apprenticeships,
yeah,
there's out there for HVAC, pipe fitting, and some others that are raising the bar.
so there's some concern that kids aren't going to want to come into that. So we're going to try to get ahead of that game and try to get people in. Admission's always a topic of discussion because, you know, the towns, of course, being around town, hey, you don't take kids that need the trade. Well, you can't punish the kid that's doing really good and tell him he can't go to BVT. It's a tough game. So I think after listening to your presentation, I think the Valley Tech does a pretty good job as far as splitting the difference and doing the best they can for everybody. So I think that's been, and it's an area of concern amongst everybody, but I don't think it's a huge area, Joe. I don't know if you can comment on that when we talk about it, but it's I don't think it's a tough topic to discuss.
It's very tough because we're supposed to be servicing the kids that need the training.
Exactly.
But you can't.
Diss the other kids.
So it's, you know, you're almost handcuffed, so.
So it comes up a lot. We try to do the best we can.
As I say, as I look at it, we only have the applications that come in. That's what we look at.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
we don't make them apply. They choose to apply, and then we have to make the admissions decision based on what's presented to us.
And we try to make it as fairly as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just when you have to stand up in front of a meeting or something and explain it to people. When they get on board, you know, it's not just, it's spread, it's pretty even. It's not going to membership by shop, you can see it's actually a fairly decent representation. I know manufacturing between the two trades, we have a packed room for both meetings in the spring and in the fall. So I think actually some of the numbers are up. Dental's been up, and I know where's the veterinary? Is that on there?
Veterinary sustain.
Way at the top.
Tech, okay, yeah, that's increased as well. We've been having vet people come to our general advisory committee meeting.
They have their elected chairperson that's,
Yeah.
I think Andrea's attending, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it was good, and hear all the exciting things going on there with the new thing in Lethbridge there, maybe does as an outreach, class there and work down there. So that's all. That seems to be going along very well. Don't have any other concerns, but thank you again for everything you guys do to support us, and I think everybody on the committee feels that they get the support, especially from these two folks that I know do a lot of work. All the shop teachers as well, helping out. Seems like a good relationship with everybody. So once again, no complaints. I'll be here next year again because I got elected again. I'll be here. I apologize for not being here in December. I had to travel unexpectedly. But any other questions? Anything I can answer?
Right. Yeah, thank you very much again for your continued support and your cohesion with our programs. Even earlier today, Anthony, Steele, and myself were having conversations about we've created a reliance, if you will, upon the advisory committee members to continue to challenge us in our programs, not to provoke or offend, but to continue to raise the bar relative to the skill sets that need to be taught in any of the programs. And where we find, for example, a well-intended teacher who may have been teaching for a number of years, not currently in the trade, in the trenches of the trade, that's when we need to know what skill set, through your conversations with Tom and Syra, needs to be added to that person's bailiwick, and then we'll help backfill that with professional development or equipment, or identify new grant items to be acquired and the training, that goes with that. But it's a constant raising of the tide, but without the challenge and the familiarity with what's happening in the trade tomorrow, we have a gap in information. And so we invite the advisory committee members to continue to challenge us, so we address the needs of industry and provide quality training for students. Never get stale, never get too comfortable. We have multiple rules that we follow. One of them is the students are asked to learn something new every day. Why shouldn't we? And so we really want to help to drive us, and we respect that input.
There's a few
It's
members
truly
that-
advisory.
Exactly, there's a few high strong members that are gladly you do it.
Okay, any other questions on the vocational presentation? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you
Tom.
very much,
Thanks,
everyone.
Tom. Thanks, Larry.
Next item up, facility subcommittee, Mr. Lavin.
Yes, we were supposed to meet Tuesday night, but due to circumstances with one of the members not being able to make it, it was postponed, but I met with Jim Roshu, which could not make it tonight because he's in the process of having a root canal.
That's correct.
So,
Excavation?
yes, excavation, that's for sure. So we sat down and we went over this little paper that I passed around to everybody, and you can see the summer project list. And if you look up the top, this all has to be done in 6.5 weeks. It's very, very tight schedule, and he assured myself that it will be done. So we will ask him when school starts. Okay? And if you want to just go down through, you can see the machine shop, what's going to happen there. And there's a thing in there that people don't realize is once the floor is done, the rigger is going to be using fork trucks with neoprene tires that won't affect the floor after the floor is put in. And the rigger has assured us that if he has to turn the fork truck sharply, there'll be something underneath the wheels to protect our floor. So that's just an update on that because, of course, it's easy to take the stuff out, but putting it back in, we don't want to destroy what we just did. So, okay, and if you can see further down, if there's any questions on that, we've already started disconnecting the equipment already. So they're already starting. So they're ready to go as soon as the students exit the building. And the Behavioral Resource Center, you can see that's being moved.
Just a suggestion, given the sensitivity of students who might need the benefit of the behavioral resource, I think it'd be helpful to have those windows be fogged, or stenciled in the same manner you saw the sample here.
Yeah.
So that's just one addition.
I think we have a department that might be able to handle it.
Yeah. If you want to pass that on.
It's on.
It's all right.
It's on, yeah.
Okay.
We have to order that special frost.
Okay.
Laminate.
Oh, beautiful. All right, that's a good thing. Okay, and you can see the technology department move also.
We did. We did.
Done moved? Okay. Well, he didn't tell me they were moved yet. This is what he just told me was
Well,
happening.
they're unpacking, how's that?
Okay, they're packing. Okay.
Unpacked.
Right.
They've moved, but they're getting settled.
He was underselling you so he can over-deliver.
And we all know because of the art, the demand for the art in the school is grown, to the point where we have to have another art classroom. So you can see that they're putting them together.
A big project that's just commencing.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Back.
No problem.
Okay, and you can see also the Three Seasons Restaurant is no longer going to have carpet. We're going to have a oak wood laminate floor, which is going to be a lot easier for the students and facilities and everybody to clean. And the walls going to be painted and cleaned up.
This meeting is the last event to happen in this room before it's
Right,
torn
before it's torn apart.
Well, I was gonna say, I do see that, things are off the walls and.
Yeah, they've already started to, and you go out the hallway out here, you can see a lot of stuff has been done. Yes?
Mr. Chairman, just out of curiosity, some of the newer restaurants are starting to have more electronic menus, and all kinds of different ways where you don't even have to interact with something, basically.
Yeah.
Are we, because that's the way it's going to end up.
They have tablets at the table, yeah.
I mean, the couple restaurants I went to in the last, excuse me, couple of weeks, everything was done by tablet. And I'm just curious, if you're going to be doing a reset, is that something that is in the planning stage? Because when they get out of here, especially in the culinary aspect of it, that's the reality of what's going on up there. Yes?
Good.
Well, a couple of things. We did invest in the most modern technology, this point of sale register here, and also interfaces with the kitchen and the bake shop. So the interface you're talking about simply is an addition to that system already, where it would basically send those same orders to that system. It's an expansion of that system, not a new system. I'll say it that way. One thing that we don't want to eliminate or overlook is the hospitality aspect and the customer service aspect and the ability to interact as humans. Granted, you may be replaced by a machine, me too, any day now, but we still want to teach those skills, knowing that they would also obviously have the skills of the point of sale machine and system we already have. So we're trying to teach both, I guess, is the short.
I guess my main point is that you still have an Australia side. That should be. It should be. The real essence of it is that everything's electronic now.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, everybody does that type of thing, and everything is then ordered up and put in a sequence that helps to facilitate the kitchen, because we move it and so forth.
Yeah.
And they're all wired together is really well.
Yeah, because I think that was the other point Jerry's trying to make sure is that hey, we're continuing to make sure these kids are ready for the workforce walking out the door.
That's what's going to happen out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can, so, okay.
Yeah, I think that's kind of
what
what the drill down to is that.
A human will come over and ask you what you want, and then we'll go over and punch it in the machine for you, and it beams it to the kitchen, and they read it in there. We already we do that now.
The 3D printer makes
Right,
it.
we haven't done the
And the
test.
3D printer prints it. Yeah, like it materializes like the Jetsons.
But just saying, we do have the capability, if in the future we were to go to the tablets, it's just a
What I'm
plug and
suggesting
play.
is the tablet is an addition to the system we already have.
Right.
You're just eliminating the person asking you what you want, and you're entering it directly yourself.
Yeah,
To the system we already have.
right, okay.
So we're not behind the times.
No,
We just haven't gone to
the next level.
Right, because in our frameworks for culinary arts, part of it is that customer service component, being able to actually wait on people.
Mhm.
So that part of it, where right now in frameworks, knock on wood, it doesn't say that if we were to have electronic tablets at the tables, the dining tables. But as Mr. Steele said, we're ready to do that if and when that does happen. Additional expense I would do is purchase the tablets to go on the tables.
Doc, you would say
Yeah, I just couldn't happen to oversee the fact that since Mr. Finn has been eating at these mechanized restaurants, he's been wheezing and sneezing throughout these meetings.
Gotta stay away from Burger King.
The only thing I did want to mention is that, for instance, I usually take, can I tell you what the specials are?
Yeah.
We went to a place where they actually had a tablet,
With the special.
and as they talked about it, they showed how it was prepared, put together, the whole bit. It was, I'll be honest with you, it was fascinating to see how they did it. And this is a boulder base that has this, we do this, and the chef puts that in. So it gave even a better personalized service than what currently is just, what would you like? Yeah, okay, and write it down and send it electronically.
Yeah.
They actually demonstrated the specials, which was kind of, I thought, really cool. You know, and we now understood, you know, what the ingredients were, how they made it, whatever.
Where was that, Mr. Finn, just out of curiosity, in case you want to send?
It was down the Lawrence.
Framingham Country Club does it.
Framingham?
Framingham Country Club does this. Okay?
I'll go.
No, you don't have to.
everything but the taste.
No, no.
All right, just talk about general, but the specials were kind of cool, because they showed you.
Yeah, an interactive
As
menu.
opposed to saying, well, it's, you know, it's $27.95.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for whatever it's worth. It was kind of cool, I've never seen it before.
That's good, something to look forward to. Okay, and on the back page, you can see the drafting department had a partial move and a reconfiguration. All we did is they basically got a small part of another room to add more computers to work with. That's basically part of their reconfiguration. And they got new steamers and new deli sink and cafeteria kitchen. And they're continuing the process on the front side. We do have the block now to cap, so the process will be moving along very shortly. I think, as a matter of fact, I was told next week. It's supposed to get finished up, the brickwork. And then continue working on the new Tranquility Center in the courtyard. Yeah. You know, Mike Norton volunteered to help with the koi pond. I was just said, the only question I had to Mr. Brochu, he could not answer me. I said, who's gonna feed the fish in the summertime when the kids aren't here? he told me that the students were gonna take care of it. I'd like to know what students are gonna come in during the summer and take care of them. And then in the wintertime, where they gonna put them.
Actually, Mr. Reynolds is actually a koi expert.
Yeah, that's why I got to in my house, so I, you know.
And
said-
we're here in the summertime.
Mr. Norton thinks he's going to create a habitat of plants that will feed the koi fish. I'll run that by you before we.
I feed my fish, right? Honest to God, not to be short and simple, but I feed my fish, right? 3 heads of roaming lettuce once a week. And they're gone within 15 minutes.
How many koi?
I have 5, I had 25, I got 5 left.
Well, it's not working.
They're over 5 feet. Yeah, that's but yeah, you know, but tablet, show them what you mean. Yeah, sure. That works.
All right.
Yeah, so anyway.
Well, that
Yeah.
covers the
And then the
update.
last one is possibly, you know, he has to work with, you know, Jim has to work with Curtis on coming up with the specs to seal coat the whole parking lot.
You'll do the whole thing at once?
It's still up in arms about whether it's gonna be partial, quarter, third, none.
Curtis isn't
It's
saying
still
anything.
it's still in its planning stages.
It's
Any
your
other
pro-
questions?
All I know is I got an email that said, get some specs together.
That's
So,
great.
All right.
So anyway.
Of course, my response was, why don't you check with other facilities managers and let's not recreate the wheel. So I think I'm gonna wind up making that phone call, but that's, we'll get there.
Okay.
Little bit of table tennis on that one. Once it goes back and forth.
How are your teeth? Not just
Yeah, so.
Any other questions for facilities?
Yeah, the only thing is, you know, hopefully, you know, in the fall, we'll be able to take a tour of some of these projects that, you know, were done during the summer, so we can visually see what, you know, what we've created is a better environment in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yep, that's it.
Next item on the agenda. I'm sorry, Curtis, your time's up.
All right. Well, I will be brief if I can.
Okay, Doc.
First item up for bid is line item transfers. This year I've worked with Rosetta, who is in need of some hardware and a new server. And just to let you know, most of the money that is generating this request is coming from savings from E-rate funds. If you're not familiar with that, it's when we budget for certain items and apply for the E-rate, and we get a 40% discount. We are required by law to fund 100% of that in our budget. You can't fund the net difference. Therefore, we look towards things that were cut in a previous year or any needs that suddenly arise throughout the year that might not have been planned, and we then use those funds to make purchases because those funds are now freed up because we ultimately get that reimbursement. In this case, we're looking at about $44,200 worth of transfers, and she needs that to go into our capital technology account to purchase a server for, I think it's going to be about $31,000. She's got about $7,100 existing in that account, and we need to supplement that with a transfer of $23,000. Yeah, okay. And then the rest she would like to put towards technology hardware and supplement the existing, that 20% replacement that we look at every year. She's looking to supplement that. So, if I can get a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the motion of the line item transfers as presented in item 9.1, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Great. The next two items, 9.28 and 9.2B, those are donations to the school. The first one is a new, it's called a tactical welder, and it's for engineering. I would say we, no, that is Matt, actually, from the engineering program, worked with the vendor to get this donation. And we worked together also to get the value for the school committee, and that came in at about $2,285. I say I worked with them because initially they had given us an invoice for this with a 20% discount on it that came down to $4,870. You'll see that at the bottom of the page. When I was working with them though, I said, I can't give you a letter for that because you can only really take the value of the inventory from your purchase perspective. But I did want this for the school committee to understand that we normally would have paid $4,800 for this, and we got it for free. To the company, it was worth $2,285. So we need a motion again to accept this donation.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Berlin, second by Mr. Lavin to accept this donation. Questions, comments, discussion? Steve?
Comment after you've done.
No. I was gonna say, I'm moving on to the vote.
Just a note on this tactical welder, it's actually a battery pack that drives an inverter. It's brand new technology that's never existed before. Part of the reason why they chose to donate it to us was because of our welding capabilities, and they were actually partnering with us, and our welding department is pushing it through its paces, and they're learning what it can actually do and how well it can weld and so on and so forth. So Mr. Rivera has actually become, if you will, a test pilot for this new technology. So it's been a really neat relationship in that sense. It's literally a brand new technology. It's never existed before, and we're showing them what it can do.
I was going to say, so it's quite conceivable that our students are going to be graduating with knowledge and training on technology that hasn't hit the workforce yet, but is coming down the road.
Correct. It's that new. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just thinking of the apprentice, like that our students at like 19 are going to be training 20-year veterans on how to use technology.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to have the training on it.
Yeah. Imagine a welder in a very small backpack, book bag kind of thing. It's I think it will weld up to 300 amps. It's pretty neat.
There's nothing else? All those in favor of accepting this donation say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
And then the next two were actually two $100 donations. There's a front and back to this by Miss Elaine Bachisto. And it was to two of our instructors, and it was a cash donation we've already deposited. And I said, well, let's make sure we get that on our school committee, and it can be used for any purpose within that.
Doctor, you have a comment on this?
Yeah, it is, Chris mentioned, but Mr. F is Mr. Fatakhan, not Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Thank you for that clarification.
So
can we get a motion on that?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and second to accept this donation. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so the next section is dealing with bids. The first one is item 9.3A. In this year's budget, we put in for a new van for student transportation. And we did take us a little bit to get through this procurement process. I know Mr. Brochu worked with Mr. Steele, and we eventually settled. We went through, I think, several iterations of what kind of vehicle we needed. Although there was some good discussion on it, I think Mr. Brochu, hearing some of the comments from some of the instructors who was driving some of the current vans that we have, they thought it would be better to have some additional visibility. So this particular transit style van has more glass, and it's not as bulky as what we currently have, so we felt like it would maybe make some of our teachers feel a little bit more safe when they're driving. Anthony, I don't know if you want to add anything else to that. Okay.
Nailed it there.
Okay, so the funding sources that was budgeted is $18,865. The remaining $28,860 is coming from donations that Dr. Fitzpatrick is responsible for in many of our banking institutions, and it goes directly to support our vehicles. So with that said, can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion?
Curtis, you outlined some of the additional features here, but the committee usually is not as eager to deal with a single bid, which this reflects. Would you say that the total $47,725 is within the ballpark of what we paid for our other vans with an adjustment for the added feature?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I will say this, because this is built to spec, it's interesting, we looked at, could we do something better on a state bid? In fact, when you go through like an MHQ, because part of this, many of these people wouldn't even bid because they felt it was stepping onto that contract. But we kept saying, no, we want you to bid outside of that. But my question is, when I was getting some additional information on MHQ, I'm like, how, from almost a consortium standpoint, can you underbid that? And they said, well, because those are prepackaged deals, they also add their own markup to it. He said, because we are building the bus to spec, it doesn't have many of those features because we don't need them. So we did save from a new vehicle perspective, and that put us in the same range as what we paid for the other ones.
Thank you.
What's the make?
This is called a Star Trans, and it's a candidate to Transit.
It's a Transit 4?
It's a Transit style.
Ford product? Okay. So I'm just saying, if you need to have it serviced, where would you go? You'd have to go.
Oh, it's a Ford. It's a new Transit series.
Okay.
It's really a new class of vehicle, actually. It's not a 350 chassis. It's similar weight capacity, but they're slimmer and lengthier, if you will.
Yeah, Ford's doing an overhaul for their entire fleet.
So basically, we could go to a Ford dealer if we need to be serviced.
It's a Ford.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just.
All right, any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of awarding the purchase of the 14-passenger bus to Matthew Bus of Greenville, Rhode Island, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Great. The next item is related to the presentation that Tom and Tyler was giving concerning manufacturing technology. It is part of the Mass Skills Capital Grant that we were recently awarded. It's really today. Doc went and picked up the fake check or presentation services, and we'll give you the handout on that later. So this is to actually redo the flooring and do some leveling in there and install some anti-skid surface to make it more safe. And that's going to be done on the entire manufacturing technology side. It will not include the welding side. They're in the process right now of getting all of the equipment ready to be moved, and we're going to be moving it right next door so that they can get to work on that. Their first opportunity, I believe, will maybe be the second or third week in July. And then we'll hopefully be ready in time for school. That's the timeline that we put forth, barring any unforeseen problems. As we say, we went out to bid for this, and we got bids that ranged, and I apologize, that very first one is 101. I'm not sure how the zero made it off that. That was 101,000.
Okay, well, I was going to
ask that too.
120. So sorry that I don't know how that happened. That was me. Then the gentleman who was awarded the bid, or the company, is Industrial Seamless Flooring. That's Jim Fitzpatrick. He has been successful in several bids, and I think a majority of the time is because he's a sole proprietor and doesn't have to follow prevailing wage. And we verify that through DCAM. But he was the low bid. The next one up from that was $48,900, and then up from that was $63,400. We did go through the normal procurement process, and this was, I'll tell you, quite a feat from the time we got notification and trying to time it to this school committee meeting, because if we missed this, we've missed our opportunity. So a lot of work went into getting the specs done, getting the advertisement done, and then holding our pre-bid conference and proceeding with that. So with that said, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? Doc.
It's interesting, as Curtis points out, the synchronization and the cohesion here in the fluid aspect that complements the work of the facility subcommittee is clearly in play. I mean, I literally picked up the verification from the state of the nearly $250,000 at 1 o'clock today in Salem, in Massachusetts. And the only other thing I want to point out, Jim Fitzpatrick is not a relative, just like Mr. F is not a relative. A highly respected family.
Yeah, I know the owners of the company.
Any other questions?
Curtis, what was his warranty on this after the fact?
You know what, it's got to be a manufacturer's defect. So they get down, and Jim and the team has actually discussed this, especially as it relates to getting the equipment back in. So if we do something that causes damage to the board, like driving, spikes across it, obviously it's not built for that. But if it's just normal wear and tear due to the application of the product, then he'll come in and replace it. As far as the actual warranty details go,
I didn't know if he warranted, his own personal work, which, I know the gentleman himself, he's very, trustworthy. So I would say, if we have anything in writing or not, I was just sort of asking on that part of it.
And then if it was a standard warranty, if it could be extended because we don't necessarily use it for the full year.
Right.
I know that's where it was going.
That's where I was
the
going.
Lavin rule.
That's it. I mean, you pay for something, we use it half the year, we should get at least, a little bit longer.
I was going to say, Anthony's got something back here.
Okay.
Jim Fitzpatrick's done 2 other floors here, successfully bidded them and did them to great satisfaction to us. When he came back to bid this floor, he walked the other 2 previous floors and volunteered. So some chips that we put in the collision floor when we had something fall, he offered to fix those for us, and also down in graphics multimedia. There was some wrinkling, and he offered to fix that as well. In fact, he insisted in doing that. That's the kind of backing that you're talking about, whether it was on paper or not. He takes pride in his work.
it is a Duraflex flooring system. We were specific with that, or something equal to. And we did have one alternate bid come in on that, but obviously it wasn't a low bid. This will be used, back to the point of, it's going to be used as part of our evening program as well. And that dovetailed nicely because we have a workforce investment board grant that I've been working with Ethan Brown on, and the planning stage ends June 30th. That's out of the way, and that's going to turn into a $21,000 grant for 3 of our teachers over the summer. And that's all related to getting out with business and industry, determining, as maybe even specifically manufacturing technology, what are some of the issues that might be driving a lack of entrance into the workforce direct. And then also working with them to maybe incorporate a more modern lesson plan, what's happening on the floor of these companies, and bringing it back to the students. So that's going to be one of the completed products. So it's helping to build stronger relationships there, and hopefully encourage our students to enter that workforce direct, and then hopefully build opportunities through the company funding a portion of their education. And that's just conversations that we have to have as a group to help to encourage those students to pursue that post-secondary education while also getting their start with some of these companies. So we're focusing on IT, healthcare, and specifically pharmacy tech, and then manufacturing technology.
I was just saying, I think we still have the motion on the floor.
Yes, I was going to say, sorry.
To get us back. Any other questions, comments, discussion on the floor? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of awarding the manufacturing technology floor repair and resurface project to Industrial Seamless Flooring of Douglas, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain.
Oh, I got the abstention from Mr. Broderick.
I abstain because the prevailing wage doesn't apply. I think it's they're going to be taking advantage of workers to get a cheaper price. I just want that.
He's a sole, he does it all himself.
He has his own business.
We'll see.
We watch
Yeah,
him.
no,
We've
absolutely.
been here when he's doing it. He's a sole operator.
Okay. Alright,
I don't know of anybody that comes out, I've seen him
Next up.
on the floor before.
I'm sorry.
No,
Different point.
I was gonna say, it's valid. The ladies.
Okay, so this also is a piece of this evening program, and it's for CNC lathes. There are some other aspects to this that don't require formal bidding, This is required because it is, you know, more than 100, actually more than 50, but certainly over $100,000. We did our normal procurement process. We had 3 bidders come in, and Southwest Industries won the bid. One of the things about these machines that I learned in building the specs is they're really dedicated to our incoming freshmen, and it's part of them learning the manual processes of a lathe. So it's unique in that respect to our school, but it can also be used for higher functions. So we plan on using that as part of the evening program as well to introduce the skills to the non-traditional workforce that we'll be entertaining for 2 cycles in the next year beginning in September.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? John?
How's the warranty? Did they extend it?
Yes, they did, and we called for that.
Okay.
That right in the specs, yes.
Live and rule in full effect.
Yeah, you're getting good at it, Chris. Good. You know, these are the little, these are our Southwest, it's a Southwest brand, right? It's not a CNC that has their equipment on it.
You know what, I'm going to have to plead ignorant on that, I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Prototracks.
Okay, it's Prototrack, that's Southwest, but so it's a Prototrack built lathe. Okay. It's not just a regular lathe with their attachment. They do make their own, so that's what I was wondering.
I believe it's a Prototrack.
Okay. I know what it is. Oh, beautiful.
Any other questions?
It's an easy one.
Seeing none, all those in favor of awarding the purchase of the lathes to Southwest Industries, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
All right, and then this is some evidence brought back by Dr. Fitzpatrick from the Mass Skills Capital Grant today. And
Have we just spent a whole bunch of money on it?
yeah. And then I've also included, as soon as Doc gets back, he can tell us just a little bit more about his meeting. But I've provided just a current snapshot of what we've done with our grants. And I tried to break this out where it was a little more obvious what I was trying to say. I know I made some last minute switches the last time, but these are what I've included in our grant application. Some of these could even be like even a donation, if you will, if we've done a lot of work on it. But anything that has a star, I've included as a separate total in that $46,000 in that note below. The rest of these are opportunities that we have undertaken as a district on a competitive or some sort of pass-through that requires our work with these companies, which is totaling about $1.2 million. That's roughly about 5% of what our total operating budget is. And I do like to put, like down there at the 2019, you will see those in the next year as well, but we've done a lot of work on that this year, so I wanted to make sure you know, especially for all the procurement on this $236,000 grant that we got, or $234,000 grant that we got, that needs to be shown as efforts in this year, and then we'll be doing the spin down and the management of that as soon as we get July going. Last year, I think we were at about $1.3 million in grant, and that was inclusive of a $500,000 Mass Skills Capital grant. So I think from that perspective, we're ahead. But I always want to throw this out to the committee that those large grants may or may not come to us every year. As you know, we felt like we had a very strong proposal in Mass Skills last year. It involved 2 different programs, and it was upwards of the $500,000. And we were told, although it was very good, they really needed to spread some of those to communities who weren't benefiting from the Mass Skills Capital. But this time we wound up being successful. And they are limiting those to 2 programs every year. So Doc, you might want to tell them a little bit about your meeting with the Gov today, and
he waited here till the fight. He waited, I watched him.
Earlier today, the governor and the Secretary of Housing distributed $10 million on the next round of the skills grant for economic stimulus And Curtis took the lead on preparing a follow-up application, which would be our third award, I think, under this program alone.
It's a what?
Third award under the skills
Yes.
program alone.
Yes.
And the governor was pointed out that in some cases, some school systems have had multiple awards in this program, and we got to look at from kind of a wink and a smile from several people in the audience. And when I went to accept the verification, which you now have, of the $234,149, I handed the governor a rationale for the $4 million request that we have on his desk. And so that was greeted with laughter by most of the people who were gathered, because we were the first to submit a new request when we were receiving the awards of the previous request, to a point where the Secretary of Housing said he wasn't sure that the new applications, the window for the new application had yet opened, but obviously some school systems are wish to be first in line. So I said to the governor, thank you very much, but as you know, Blackstone Valley Tech won't let you down. Give us another chance. So didn't wish to be ungrateful or unappreciative, just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to interact with the governor. So he walked away with our rationale for the next request.
Well, yeah, these grant applications, they are lengthy, and I mean, they force you in some instances to really limit even the characters you're putting in, sometimes 250, and you could write probably 600 words, and then you have to get that down because there's so much to try to say to sell what we're trying to do. And all I'll say is I'm probably very glad I worked for Dr. Fitzpatrick. He taught me a lot about writing, and that is the truth. So I've kind of honed my skills.
No, we greatly appreciate the work that goes into this, because I know that, a lot of this goes into a lot of one-time needs that it's something we don't have to put into our operating budget to keep us, to keep the kids getting ready for the workforce and keep us moving our mission forward.
Yeah, the key is to pursue money that's consistent with our mission that helps us in some other aspect. That's the real juggling act. Otherwise, you get drawn into something that is outside the mission that puts wear and tear on your facility and your people, and it doesn't help us. But you can see this, the connection we have with facilities here and the manufacturing area, things like that. We've got to continue to do things of that nature.
Let's hear it.
One question. A few meetings ago, we had a list that was about $990,000. Is this that same list? And so since then we've bettered that. We've about $300,000 more.
And we've even on some of the grants up above that are the entitlement grants that we still you have to do a lot of work on those as well. We had some slight shifts in. We've got some additional money in there. Not a whole lot, but I've updated that as well. So all right. If no more questions, we're going to turn this over to Martha, our resident expert and nutritionist in all things health.
Yes, and I did win the Dairy Queen ice cream cake at the last event. So, hey, everything moderation, right? So I wanted to share with you the work of our wellness committee this year. And can you read the board?
You do have this in your packets if you wanted to look at that, but we wanted to at least give some prompts of what you should be looking at here.
Okay, so let me just go through some of it. We worked with the Skills Community Service team. They did the Game Change program again for students here. That's with the National Football League, Bob Kraft, and they did a really nice job, and they actually got a silver at the state level, which was great. I'm going to go over all the BMI data with you in just a minute, and that is good data. Curtis and I did a Fuel Up to Play 60 grant with the New England Dairy Farmers, and we got that grant for $500 for next year for VITA program equipment. So that's nice. Some of the stuff in the fitness.
And we just did the $4,000.
Yes, we did one for an equipment grant for the cafeteria, so hopefully that one will come through. In terms of the school meals program, this year they had their mandatory state review, and they came through that with flying colors. They really did a very nice job. That was lengthy, and his department really stepped it up and did a nice job. Eric also wanted us to share, Eric's the food service director, that they had a cart built from painting and design, and they bring it around for a second chance breakfast with the students when they're in shop, and that was very successful this year. In fact, they had 8,000 more breakfasts served as of the end of May, so it's probably even more now for students. So that's huge, that many more meals are being served to students. And their lunches also increased quite a bit too this year, so they really had a very nice year. Do you have a question? Yeah, and then this was the first year that the cafeteria grab-and-go deli has been in effect, and that has been hugely successful, would you say?
And that was due to the renovations that we undertook actually over the summer. And yes, it's been really, really good. The presentation in there alone is just a nice, clean environment, and new equipment in there in terms of the heating units and kind of that grab-and-go feel.
Yeah, so just to give students a little more time to actually have lunch, because they can get through the lines a little quicker. So that's been very successful. Any questions about student wellness? I'm going to go over the BMI data in a minute too. And then in terms of employee wellness, this year we partnered with Harvard Pilgrim and Borslow, and we really stepped up the wellness program for staff. And we did some challenges and incentives and trying to get people onto the Harvard Pilgrim website a little more. And that was pretty successful. It was a nice start.
Yes, it was. I think we're looking for ways to drive people to that. One of the newest things, I believe, is going to be accessing that HSA. They're going to be linking that to the employee portal. I think our biggest challenge with any of these getting people to resources is giving them a reason to visit. So when we had a challenge going on, you were either automatically linked through your device, or if it didn't recognize your device, then you would go in and manually log. In there, you'd find little tidbits of information, small little videos that were a minute and a half. Really, really good information, but once the campaign was done, you get back to the grind of work and you're not going there as much, so we keep trying to figure out how do we get people to visit? Because once you get there, there's always a little something that you can spend 2 or 3 minutes on and get some good information. So we continue to make strides towards making that happen, but it's a slow process.
Any questions about that? All right. We also did our annual wellness fair.
Get your sin on.
Which, yeah, we did that right before the holidays, and that was very successful. I think staff always look forward to that. And next year, I think we're going to switch it up a little bit.
Right. We're going to have a technology-focused theme, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be really about utilizing your devices and other online resources to really kind of boost what we would like to see in our employees in terms of taking care of themselves and, well, hopefully tying into better experience on our health insurance. Right? That's the whole motivation behind it.
I tried to do a little more work on the wellness blog this year. Borslow gave me a lot of information, and then just pulling in information from different people on our wellness committee. So if you have a chance to look at that, there's lots of information on that.
And we present that blog whenever we're doing new parent orientation to let them know that's a resource there for them as well.
And then our nurses did staff EpiPen training at one of the afternoon sessions, which was great. They had probably 200 trainer EpiPens, so everyone could have a total hands-on demonstration because a lot of staff are taking students out of the building. And our allergies are up and the EpiPens are up that the students need. So that was a great training that happened. And then for Staff Appreciation Day, I just did 2 healthy smoothies for staff during lunches. One was well received more than the other one. I'll just leave it at that. But it was a good start. One was an apple pie smoothie, which was great if you just make it and then drink it. But I had to make it ahead of time, and so it just was very brown. It tasted okay. But, people eat with their eyes, just like the students do. So anyway, oh well.
So was entertaining where you can't see it.
So was Guinness. So live and learn. So then, this is what our committee has planned for next year. Some of the same and some new incentives to get staff and students engaged in wellness. Any questions?
And this is required, by the way, that we make this presentation to you to let, it's part of the state requirement, and we have to report back, and we do our, reviews of policy and procedures, make updates. We are required to have at least 3 meetings a year. And I think as a committee, we do a really good job. Everybody is so busy, so it's good to see those that are really, given the time and effort and putting ideas forth. And so it's really kudos to the entire committee. And now you can go to your Vita.
All right, so in terms of my Vita program, yes, it has been updated, my numbers. So I had more students today. So I had 232 students who participated over the course of the year. And more males this year, which was nice. A lot of students who asked if they could come in for the day and be down in the fitness room working out. So that was great. And it'll be good, some of that equipment that I can buy from the grant can be used down there. In terms of fitness classes, I didn't veer much from what I used to do. I do all the pre and post testing where I have students test themselves, compare it to what is healthy for their age group, and then set goals, SMART goals off of that. And they've really honed it in well this year. The Xbox, which was also purchased with a grant, got a lot of use this year. And I tried to do a lot more with yoga with students just to help with stress, and that seemed really well received. And I use an online one that then students can use for free at home. So that went well. Nutrition classes, I always add a nutrition class with taste testing to all the Vita classes, and the smoothies are always a big hit. But I really focus too on breakfast is a big one, and calcium for this age group, and just trying to incorporate some healthy things in that taste good for them to just get students engaged with nutrition. So I think that's gone really well. Healthier choices with mainly around hydration, I would say. So students aren't drinking soda anymore, but maybe some of the coffees. We talk a lot about that. And if you can scroll down on the next one, yeah, you can see, on the bottom, it actually says push-ups and crunches. Students did better.
Right here.
Yeah, better with that. I think the reason we didn't do so well in the mile, I always give students the option, you can run it, walk it, whatever you want to do. And I think the way the weather worked out this year, it seemed like they were doing more running in the fall, and then I think it was just hotter, and then more of them wanted to walk it. So I think next year maybe I'll just have them walk it and then walk it, so we're comparing the same thing. So, and they did well with push-ups and crunches. And then these are the goals that students set for themselves, and then they self-report that at the end of the year, and they did pretty well. I feel like when I let them pick what the goal is that's important to them, then you get some more buy-in from them. Any questions about that? I think they did really well.
Pie chart.
All right. So, the numbers have really improved this year with this as well. So 68.4% of the school that got weighed during gym class was in the healthy weight zone, and this is the best it's ever been. So this is great. I actually put some data together. So I started I've been doing this for a long time, but just for this I wanted to tell you from school year 2014-15 to now, healthy weight has gone up. Underweight has stayed pretty steady. It's actually a very low number. Obesity has steadily come down, and overweight went up slightly, but that's actually good news because students are coming out of the obesity category into the overweight category. So between seeing healthy weight in a better place and obesity down, these numbers are very good. So I did mention to Curtis, and I wanted to just mention here that this year I saw a trend for more students opting out of having their height and weight done, which I'd say okay to. And I don't want to cause any issues by forcing that. So it was noticeable this year. So
I think one of the things we talked about too, the reason why maybe parents have been bombarded with this for so long, and at some point they're almost taking it personally, getting letters that your child is overweight, and maybe that it's a reflection on them. So maybe they don't want another letter, maybe.
Which we don't do anymore, but Mr. Steele did.
I'm curious on the opt-outs. Were they also trending in a particular category? So,
You know-
for example, more opt-outs from what you might suspect are obese or underweight or?
Very good question. Actually, no.
Yeah,
It was more shop specific. So, I always get the opt-out list from the nurses, and then I get another list from the nurses on students I really shouldn't be weighing. But I saw trends in certain shops where maybe upperclassmen were telling the younger students, you don't have to do that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cultural or social?
Yes. So some shops were fine, and then some shops
Neat.
yeah, and I actually asked the students why, just for my own knowledge, so we talked about maybe next year doing a little more. I do this during PE, and maybe having a little discussion before it takes place on, just what's going on here. And I feel like a lot of students, when they came in and had it done, it's all done just privately, and then I have the charts to show them. A lot of students were pleasantly surprised to see where they fell. So that was a nice learning experience. And the football team loved to, they really wanted to look at the body comp. And it's funny how different students come in and go out with whether they gain weight or lost weight or remain the same. So the guys are excited to gain weight. No girl has ever said that to me yet. So it's interesting. But it was just, that was a note this year that I picked up on that I had never picked up on before. And then I broke it out by grade. There you go for that. And I just have to say a shout out to the PE teachers. They're really accommodating about helping me get this done, as well as technology, IT, for me getting that scale going. So that's it for that one. And then this, what I do is I take every class and I show you what they look like the senior class that just graduated, how they fared as they went through their years, and they actually ended a tiny bit thinner, and then all the different grades. So this class that is currently freshmen came in the thinnest ever, and we'll see how they fare. So even the juniors are trending very well. And sophomores, I'm actually not so surprised to see that little bump up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back down when I weigh them next year.
Well, I was gonna say, because I noticed it with the senior class as well.
Yep.
Freshman year, spike in the sophomore year, and it came right back down a
Yeah.
level.
And I think it might just be tied to growth patterns, honestly. Any questions about that one? And then I break it out by shop, and that's for the whole school, and then I break it down by grade. And I've actually had quite a few conversations with the PE teachers about why, if you ever look back on all my data, there's some shops that are always historically low or a little higher. And we've had a lot of conversations that maybe some shops have more athletes in them. We're always trying to figure out, is it the culture of the shop? Is it why students are choosing a certain shop? And they do say that there are certain clusters that have a lot of athletes in them. I'll just give you an example. Electrical usually tends to run low. There are a lot of athletes in that shop. Some of the shops, people are on their feet more. So different, groups of male, female in those shops.
The senior class ended up with the highest underweight number. Any thoughts as to that, interpreting of?
Yeah, if you looked at my data, there's actually so few that are underweight, so it wouldn't take much to you know what I mean?
The quantity is not good.
Yeah, the number's so low. And I actually pass all that information over to the nurses, just so they're aware.
So it's not in case of added stress to get ready to exit?
No, when I think of the students who are, I just think they're just maybe genetically thinner,
But it's the highest percentage because the class is leaving, that's all I'm saying.
Oh, of underweight?
Yeah, underweight, it may not be a lot of students.
No,
it's 2.55, which is, double other numbers.
Yeah. Although, yeah, it's still a low number.
I was gonna say, if I scale that out, it's probably, 7 or 8?
Yeah, small numbers would still impact that.
Yeah, and it could be, I never know year to year if I'm catching the same exact students from year to year. Maybe someone was absent one year in the next year. So it's not, even though it's the same class, it's not all, I'm not checking off that it's the same exact students. And
Yeah. Well, my question is maybe to examine trends going forward to see as people migrate out to the world. Right.
From
because-
us.
Yeah, because if someone's truly in the underweight category, it's not a healthy thing.
Well, that's my
So,
concern, the anorexic activity or whatever.
Yeah, and actually, there's some students that I've been told not to weigh, so I'm not exactly sure where they even fall. I mean, I can kind of glance at them, but I'm, I'm not getting the data. But yeah, we do want to make sure that number isn't climbing. Any questions? So, all in all, I thought the data looked good this year. So I went back to the CDC to see, but they're so behind in their data. They're still reporting 2015-16, their numbers, and they're saying 20% of adolescents in the country are obese, which we're much lower than that, which is great. But they're getting their data from the youth risk behavior
Survey.
Thank you. So it's a little different, but yeah, their data is lagging, and it always does.
Now, they've redefined the ranges for blood pressure.
Yes.
Okay, have they redefined the categories for obesity?
No.
Or BMI?
No, it's still the same. But one thing that I always love to share with students is when they're up until they're age 20, it needs to be put on a growth chart for gender and age. So it's very different than adults. Once they hit like 21, then it's just straight across the board number. So it takes into account, puberty and growth. So I feel like I always want to bring that chart back, and I actually put it out and show the students where they fall. Yes.
You say your 2014 data, and you said you have more that goes back. How long have I been working with you on this stuff now, or have you been working with the school?
I've been here 15 years, and I want to say I first started getting that data, maybe just a small sampling, maybe 2004 maybe.
Yeah.
We did just a small group. So if anyone is interested, I could put along a timeline for you. And the numbers have really gotten better over time.
Without the numbers, I can tell you we had a very different scene back in 2004.
Very different scene.
We ate differently. We ate a lot more cookies.
Brownie.
The Valley Tech brownie.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and the
Yes,
Valley
it's
Tech
very,
cookie.
very different than it used to be.
Sure
In
is.
a good way.
And, on that note, I'd just like to acknowledge for the whole committee's behalf and the public that I, for one, feel very fortunate that we've had our own nutritionist and had Martha here, and I don't need charts to tell you the impact that she's had on the school, and not just the students, but the overall health of the whole school, and cafeteria offerings, menu analysis, and overall nutrition, Project Vita, tracking, student data, BMIs, and you've made a huge impact to the school, and thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Back,
Again, for the committee's benefit, all right? The overall wellness benefit of this has been recognized by the committee relative to more alert students, better attendance, and more suited to learning. But there's some other, as Anthony pointed out, there's some interesting dividends in this process. We clearly witnessed enthusiasm in the grab and go, whether you're looking at speaking with John or Christine. I mean, anybody who comes through, they're bubbling with the excitement about some of these new features that are part of it. And this type of data that's collected also allows us to plan, but also presents a nice situation to write the grant rationales or research on which to secure more money, because we've got the data to do it. So it has multiple spin-offs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just remember to sign the warrant.
And take your place.
Thank
Take
you.
your place, minutes. And sign the warrant and take your place, minutes. I think Nicole does not want to have to truck those things back up to the office.
Actually, really dangerous project.
Oh, no, I don't know.
All right, next on the agenda, Mr. Steele.
Good job. Making my way around. While I'm making my way around, you annually vote and support the 4th of July activities here at the school. I do have tickets courtesy of the men's club, if anybody would like some. We had some by request, I got those out to you, but if there's anybody else, they did give me some extras in case any of you wanted to attend, so I have those over there on the table if you'd like some. Pass a few things out.
item up tonight for me is a senior awards night, which took place on the 24th. Seems like it was a while ago. It was just a lot happened in between. It really wasn't that long ago. I do have a program of that. I only have one copy of this. I'll send around. If you want to take a peek at it, you can just send that down and around. But I can certainly characterize it for you with the handout that you have in your packet. It's on purple paper, and it's a item 10.1A summary of the night. Obviously, well attended by our seniors and their parents. This is a tradition that we've had at the school where we have our scholarship night to award a lot of memorial scholarships, ongoing scholarships that the school has had, in relationships we've had with various folks who choose to donate to ongoing support for our students. I guess the big headline there is that overall our students received $6 million in scholarships this year, which as far as I know is a high watermark for us, Michael. I don't know if you've ever heard of either higher than that. Next year, of course. So certainly something that we celebrate. Perhaps the extended question earlier, why are more kids going to four-year colleges? Maybe it's because we're finding ways to help them fund it. Is another possible answer to that question. That night in particular, if memory serves me correctly, we awarded approximately $530,000 worth of memorial and military scholarships and things of that nature, merit scholarships. That included also 2 full ride scholarships, one from the Army and one from the Navy, of approximately $150,000 each to those 2 recipients. That of course comes with some obligation for service that follows. This is broken down for you by town, as you've always requested it. Thank you, Nicole. I believe you're the hand in putting all of this together. And so we've provided that for you, which basically gives you a sense of the various types of scholarships and the dollar amounts associated with that. And also does highlight some of those students who went and sought scholarships that were not necessarily awarded that night, but gives you a nice summary by your towns. Any questions on senior awards night? Okay, seeing none, we move on to 10.2, the graduation report. I did just give you a program, the purple booklet there, from our graduation exercises that was held on May 30th at the Hanover Theater. Is I believe it was our 10th year there. Sunday was the 9th or 10th. We local historians there, but really interesting, nice ceremony. We always try to do some showcasing of student talent. So we not only had our students, sing at the event, the national anthem and so forth, but also featured a quintet that did quite well. A little bit extra fanfare this year with bagpipes. We did have a connection with one of the Milford police officers. He's their school resource officers in a piping group. And he connected us with his group, and so we were led in by bagpipes, which was a nice touch, I thought. And as Doc and I were standing there on stage, the kids kept coming and coming and coming. 296 students on stage, which is the highest number we've ever brought to the Hanover Theater for this ceremony. And there was one open seat on the stage where we blueprint the stage. We're going to have to get creative next year because the class, I think, is getting a little bit bigger. So we're pretty tight on there, pushing the capacity of the place. It seats 2,300 and we always fill it. So both the stage and the audience is full. But overall, as you would expect, a very distinguished, sophisticated ceremony. Students certainly get up for the occasion and act very sophisticated themselves, their speeches and overall behavior. It's a really great night for us, certainly something to celebrate. We're always proud of that evening as we send another group off prepared, college, career, and otherwise. Questions on graduation? Okay. Next is spring sports update. I think you need the program from sports awards. So that was just recently, Thursday, June 14th, a week ago. Sorry. Yeah. All right. Time's flying, sorry. A few things here. We did have a great year. Let's start with golf. We're still playing, actually. JJ Newcomb is going up to Vermont. I think it's Vermont this year. New Hampshire, Vermont. Playing the New England Principal MIA Championship. In New Hampshire.
I think he just did it.
Oh, he done?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that this week? Yesterday. Thank you.
Yesterday, it's okay.
Okay.
It has been a busy week, but I think we just.
Yeah, he was fourth in the state. So JJ Newcomb was fourth in the state golf, which qualified him to go and play in the New England tournament, which was yesterday. Not sure how we did, but no doubt knowing JJ,
He won.
I'm sure he did well. Let's see, a few other things. I know in track and field, the girls set five female records this season in track. Certainly great year for them, and also testament to their coaches who worked hard with them to train. So nice job there. Let's see, want to tell them a little bit about softball, going to the district championship.
Mr. Yitz and I were among those supporting of our young girls in softball. They moved up to Division 2, and they ended up playing at Worcester State. They qualified for the Central Mass finals and come up short in that game. The team that beat them 4-0 actually won the next game and now continues to advance to the state finals. So it was worthy competitive.
Leicester?
That is Leicester, right. But the girls had a stellar year relative, and the first time they moved up in the whole division. So very impressive. Good to see them play, and certainly they were disappointed if they ever lose a game, but they didn't lose many.
And I think they finished the year ranked 10th in Central Mass in the Telegram poll.
Okay.
In the regular season, so.
Fantastic season for the girls softball, and also baseball had a pretty good year. They won the state vote championship. Honorable mention for one of our teams. Overall, great spring sports season, and the sports awards ceremony highlighted all of that. Of course, Michelle Denise is our athletic director, continues to do a great job with all of our programs. And, couldn't be prouder of BVT athletics, going well. Any questions on spring sports update? 10.4 end of year procedures. As you can see, we're almost there. 2 more days to go, 2 full days that is, and Tuesday will be out at 11 o'clock. Grades were due this afternoon at 3 p.m. from the shops. They were the last to finish up with their finals. We will be computing and tabulating the grades over the next 2 days. Tomorrow we have a speaker coming to speak about school culture, respect, kindness, and happiness, overall happiness. And that's the speaker that our 2 student representatives said that they saw at their national or state convention, rather. And so we learned a thing from there and thought highly enough of him to bring him to see the entire student body. A good portion of the fee for his speaking fee was also fundraised by the Friends of Rachel, who do a lot with school culture. So it's an event we're looking forward to tomorrow. We're trying to obviously have meaningful, enriching type activities, even though we were right at the end of the school year. We try to do our best to keep it going right to the end. A lot of shops are doing cleanups and things like that. In the administrative offices, we're tabulating grades and making sure that final averages are calculated. Report cards are printed, a lot of envelopes to stuff in the last day and a half, 2 days here. And of course, we'll do our traditional 11 o'clock send-off with the kids on Tuesday. Nicole, I'm sure you'll be there with your camera to catch the traditional Valley Tech wave. All the staff will go out and wave goodbye to the buses as they beep their horns at us. In 6 weeks, they'll be right back. So, and we'll finish all those summer projects that we talked about. New hires have gone well. We're obviously not completely finished with that, but have gotten a good jump on replacement positions and retirements and so on and so forth. So we're in really good shape coming into the very end of the tail end of the year here. Feel good about it. Questions about end of year procedures? Okay, the Green Ribbon School Awards in your, you'll see a letter that I received in your packets on tan paper, congratulating us for being a 2018 Green Ribbon School recipient. You actually saw what this was largely about. If you recall, this winter, the folks from HVAC came in and presented with their light boxes on LED lighting, different types of it, energy savings factors and things of that nature. That is what this is in recognition for. They did go to the State House and brought their display and so forth, and received honors in the Great Hall of Flags or so at the State House, and received recognition for our school for their project. Question on the Green Ribbon School. Okay. Last is the out-of-state field trip. Last one of the year, I promise.
Sure.
Skills USA. This is our annual contingent going off to Louisville, Kentucky to compete in the Nationals. We're leaving very soon. And obviously with great intentions to come back with a lot of gold and silver medals.
John, I'll make the motion.
John has made a motion to approve this trip before Anthony was even finished.
I know.
Second by Mrs. Mitchell. Questions, comments?
Make it up for the fish story.
He said it's coming fast. I didn't want
He
to-
realized when he got something. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the Skills USA trip, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The kids can go. Doc.
Just for the committee's benefit, in our typical way of covering all the bases, while as I said, I joined Mr. Yitz at the softball tournament game. Mr. Steele was chaperoning the motorsport sports competition in New York. So, once again, there's coverages everywhere, supporting our students in a variety of activities.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Steele.
Thank you.
Have a fun summer. See you Monday.
See you.
All right, item number 11, signatory authorizations. Annually, we do have to go through these authorizations. There is a motion. There are motions that are in the packet. So I will entertain a motion item 11.1.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that one.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of approving motion that's as described and provided in item 11.1, that is here to empowers Dr. Fitzpatrick as a signatory for the upcoming fiscal year as it pertains to district contracts, grants, and other legally binding documents between the district and outside agencies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 11.2.
I'll make the motion to accept.
Motion made and second. Doctor, you're confused.
No, I just noticed that we have an 11.3, but that may not have been identified in the agenda, advance agenda.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
out this afternoon,
Okay.
and I
Okay.
left out a bunch of copies, but I don't know if everyone got them.
I have. Well, we'll finish up 11.2.
No,
and then
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what his confusion was related to that.
Ah, okay, sorry.
Wait a second, the superintendent was never acknowledging confusion. The superintendent was ahead of the chair slightly, and concerned that 11.3 might surprise him,
Oh, okay.
in spite of his skill set.
All right.
Your turn.
Singing.
There's a motion on the table. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of empowering Curtis as an authorized signatory for fiscal school year for FY19 as it pertains to purchase orders, contracts, grants, and legally binding documents to the district and outside interest agencies. Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. I've heard tell of it, 11.3.
Really aware.
What?
It's the
Oh, you
same,
need
it's for
it?
Lorna.
It's, oh, yeah, I was gonna say, I don't have it all.
Oh, there you go.
Empowered businessman.
Yeah, yes. For those who may not have it, item 11.3 is to empower Lorna Mangano, business manager for FY 2019, as it pertains to purchase orders, contracts, grants, and other legally binding documents. It's similar to Curtis's.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. All those in favor of giving Lorna signatory authorization for the upcoming school year, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 12. Mr. Lavin with the budget report.
Okay, the budget report is, we have a budget. It's approved.
Well, we still have 3 comment reports.
Okay, now, I'll turn it over to Hopedale, the doctor.
Yeah, the 3 town meetings that occurred since the last time the school committee met are identified in the agenda. The first is Hopedale, who took action at their annual town meeting, although the Hopedale citizens and the finance committee and its leadership decided to postpone it. The omnibus of all local town departments, Hopedale treats Valley Tech's request as a separate warrant article and was supported. So we were one of the few financials that were approved at their annual town meeting. They held a special town meeting earlier this week to address other matters, and those were passed as well. So we did secure a favorable vote out of Hopedale and witnessed a very nice presentation by retiring moderator Judge Larkin during that ceremony. Also, Paul Yanovich, retired school committee member from this body, was wishing everyone the best and was present at that meeting.
Bellingham does a roll call style through the budget, requesting holds. A number of items were held for a variety of reasons. Our budget was not held at all and passed easily.
The next one is Blackstone. Blackstone conducted their meeting on the date identified, and there were no issues taken on the Valley Tech budget. They did decide to enhance the initially projected assessment for the Blackstone Millville school system by some, I believe, $40,000, and now it'll be in Millville's court, is their partner, all outside of us, to determine whether or not they can afford to make an additional contribution to match the enhanced number that was approved at the Blackstone meeting. So we wish everyone the best. They addressed that earlier this week. Millville voted unfavorably on pretty much a 2-to-1 vote on the Prop 2.5 override. So they won't be going that way. And that was the second Prop 2.5 override defeat for Millville in trying to determine, generate enough money to deal with FY19 obligations. So they'll have another special town meeting, and we'll see the verdict of that one. It does not impact Valley Tech. No, I thank the budget subcommittee and the full school committee for their work and assistance as we made presentations. We take pride in building this budget over a number of months. You witnessed and the public witnessed the tremendous cost savings made possible to the school and to the district through our vocational technical programs, all connected to learning. You can see the fact that we have created opportunities for students to transition out of special education. We have created opportunities in our longer school year and the commitment of our staff to provide viable opportunities that have generated $6 million in support for additional training. And a number of graduates of 4 years ago have returned to school now, demonstrating and illustrating their college credentials with strong interest in pursuing trade-related activity. And so we're delighted. And included in that is Mr. Bartlett's twin boys. Okay? So both his sons, studied here, graduated from here. This is just an example. and then pursued further education in business skills at Nichols College, and now both fully intend to pursue their trade. So with the added skill sets. And, you know, that's more common than people realize. So, but I thank the overall public for the support of our budget. We will be working with the Insurance Advisory Committee of our school and our Teachers Association in exploring avenues of additional relief and modifications within the health insurance plan. We have no alternative. It's happening everywhere, and you know, we'll have to do the same. So we'll be very transparent with that, and we hope to receive the cooperation and sensitivity that we need to go forward in FY20. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda, Policy Subcommittee report. In Mr. Hanratty's absence, we have Mr. Steele.
Be happy to, thank you. What you have here are quite a number of policy revisions with regard to A through S on this list. These are all MASC Association's School Committee legal panel, legal counsel has gone through and amended their templates and boilerplates, if you will, for school policy based upon changes in Mass General Law and also some federal law. So it's essentially all updates that have been suggested and sanctioned by MASC. Okay? So that's the gist of those. The subcommittee felt unanimously approved all of those changes upon review. The last item on this list of characterizing for you and then open it up for question is a policy relative to student dress code and has an effect in our student handbook. Specifically, the issue at hand there was dealing with the topic of ripped jeans and skirts. Shorts is...
I'm just curious what the issue is. It's a pair of shorts built into a skirt.
Yeah. So we
Like
had
a golf skirt.
We had a limitation in there that a skirt had to be within 3 fingers of the knee. This was a provision saying unless it was a skirt.
So they can wear that.
Which has the shorts under it anyway.
Yeah.
So I think you can have a shirt,
Squirt.
my tongue twister, a shirt or squirt.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Follow me?
Yeah.
Get what I'm stepping in? All right. You can have a shorter skirt with a skirt.
Okay.
And you can have some ripped jeans now. It's not a zero tolerance policy on the ripped jeans, with the understanding that that has become very commonplace and fashionable these days. It limited the rips that they could not be within your nether regions.
You can't reach them.
Upper
I'm looking at it, it
thigh.
says you
That
have a
would be
little
the upper thigh.
hashtag.
Not be within the, above the knee.
Right.
Yeah.
Such and such. Okay.
This is why they let us stay.
You should be rewarded by staying tonight at a meeting.
Jeez.
All right? So that's the...
Mr. Hanratty never had any trouble.
That's why he's
His
homesick.
shorts are always inappropriate.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, I'll make the motion
What is that motion, Mr. Lavin?
to accept the, what's?
The policy subject.
The policy subcommittee's recommendation for the revised parts of the policies.
For item 13.1 as one package.
Yes.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion. Dr.
The
Fitzpatrick.
purpose of Anthony and the policy subcommittee advancing this is because it has a time effect to our ability to incorporate these new regulations as recommended within the new handbook printing process. And so it's another one that sticks.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the policy subcommittee's recommendations of the sequence of revised policies, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. The policies are hereby revised. Thank you, Mr. Steele, for standing in so ably.
Eloquently.
Thank you for the tongue twister.
Anthony, now you can scoot.
Scoot.
Dr. Fitzpatrick.
He was
Members of the
trying-
committee, if I may, item 14.1 is one of the new professional organization affiliations, which I accepted. Okay, it's so detailed by the NESDEC, New England Development Council Group. We do our best, and, in fact, the full leadership team maintains active affiliations to strengthen our network, to become aware of new grants, and to improve our own professional development. This is an example like that. Any questions on that? Moving on, 14.2. We have, since the last time we met, received, I made the committee aware of a verbal resignation by long-term director of curriculum instruction, and that was, now I have the ability to share with the committee a written notification of the transition. And as you notice, it was marked as accepted with regret. During the 17 years of BVT, this individual made a significant contribution to our students' and system success. We wish her the very best in a new challenge she wishes to pursue. The next item is a construction technology teacher who was with us for a number of years. And at one point in which when we had a reduction in force, we also created an opportunity for this person to serve with us in the second credential, which happened to be physical education, because we held that certification. He did that, returned to us in construction tech, and has more recently notified us that he wishes to make a change, and we wish him the very best. And I've worked with the other school system that he is transitioning to create a smooth transition. That concludes item 14, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. New business. Does any member of the school committee have any new business moving forward tonight? Seeing none, Doc, do you have anything?
Well, I know we have $23 million in debt in OPEB, but we did get a $150 contribution from the Kitchen Center of Framingham to help with our development.
All right.
Little by little.
Little by little. All right, anything else? Seeing none, items for the good of the committee are available if you wish to obtain a copy.
Two reminders now, don't forget, you're on the clock for your signatures, okay? Second reminder, in the event you wish to acquire signatures from two communities or more, you need a separate sheet for each community in which you secure signatures. You can secure signatures from any community in the district, okay? But you need a separate sheet for that. And it would be particularly helpful, or will help anyone or assist anyone, after the executive board meeting to please take the placemats. Well, I think Mr. Finn already ran away without taking his. So, and my guess is Mr. Bowser did the same thing.
The restaurants, they have a bill. The one with the tabs on the table.
All right.
We just need to know the details.
We don't know well,
After the executive.
Oh, yeah. Next item, our next regularly scheduled school committee meeting is August 16th. I believe that also, as tradition, coincides with the freshman cookout. Be here early for your hamburgers and hot dogs. Now, I will entertain our move towards an executive session. Have a motion?
Motion. Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, we'll take a few moments to allow the folks at the cameras, because we will not be returning from executive session to conduct any additional business other than adjournment.